With me this morning is my colleague Linda, who is a PhD candidate. Linda, welcome.
Thank you, Nana.
So tell us about your study.
Okay, so my study is about managing enrollment in educational institutions, more or less customer management in the educational sector.
Right. So what is the topic? What is the topic?
The topic is strategies in managing enrollment management, having technology and leadership style as a moderator and mediator respectively.
Wow. So how do you go about it?
Okay, so I used sensor sampling in coming out with the, in terms of methodology, getting the target audience to give me the feedback I needed.
Right. So really, what is the gap? So what strategies are we looking at? What is actually the gap that you want your study sought to fill?
In terms of gap, I've read through literature in terms of how enrollments can be managed. And I came across a model, that is the data model. Scanning through literature, I noticed that this model, it's yet to be seen in terms of managing enrollment. And this is a model that has three main components: coming out with the best products, total customer solution, and locking up the customer, that is the system logged in. So I found this model to be something very novel in terms of managing enrollment in the private sector.
Right. So in your study, what have you identified?
I have identified the fact that private universities in the country specifically have a lot of challenges in terms of managing their enrollment.
Right.
And then it's also clear in my studies that most of these private universities are struggling in terms of growth. Hence, sustainability is becoming an issue. Not just that, I also found out that technology, which we all know is where the world is driving into, is not fully being utilized in these private universities.
Right. So you believe, so how can private universities leverage on technology?
I think for private universities to really make good use of technology, one, they have to know the importance of technology and know how it can be used. I also noticed that not that they are not aware of technology, they are, but how to use it is the problem.
Yeah, so technological adoption and usage is always
And
a challenge.
usage is a challenge in these private universities.
Right.
Yeah.
So how can somebody improve his private, improve the private education system with your study?
Okay, so at the end of the study, a recommended framework was outlined. And not just that, the study also, like I said, the study moderated and mediated. The study also identified the fact that not all leadership styles are good in terms of managing enrollment. So preferably, private universities should really rely on transactional and transformational leadership as a form of dealing with their frontline people in terms of handling customers. By so doing, they will be able to relate with their both leaders and followers will be able to relate nicely, and customers will get the best out of them. And then also, I'm also looking at a way by which private universities will be able to come out with the best products in terms of programs, designing programs and coming out with what programs should be mounted. They should look carefully into what programs they bring out. Then also serving their customers very well is also very, very important. Not forgetting that students recommend a lot, even more than most of the adverts we do.
I'm particularly interested about leadership.
Yes.
So you are telling us that leadership of these private institutions matters a lot.
Very, very important.
All right. So in future, are we hoping to develop other studies in that area?
In fact, it is something that I'm looking up to, that I will be looking at the role leadership play on the enrollment management team in terms of managing enrollment.
Right. So what is the way forward?
The way forward now is to look at how, PhD is a whole lot of work with a lot of objectives. Like you mentioned, you have leadership in there, you have technology running through, and even the data model having its three elements. That's a lot of work. So I'm looking at how these individual objectives can really stand on their own as a work on its own, and how the industry will really benefit from my work.
Right. So what kind of collaboration do you expect?
For now, I'm looking at private universities or any industry player, because even though it talks, the work is on the educational sector, since it's about customer management, it can be used in any other sector.
Right.
Having in mind the importance of the data model. So I'm looking at a way that I can get collaboration in terms of how to dive more into bringing in customers, maintaining them, and satisfying customers, because maintaining or satisfying customers is as important as bringing them in.
Right.
So I'm looking for the opportunity to be able to work with industry players, with private universities, with policymakers, to be able to let people understand how these things really work.
Right. Okay. Thanks. So what advice do you have for private investors who are already in motion, who are struggling with sustainability?
Okay, so sustainability is everything for any company, whether the educational or any other sector. So I would advise that private universities should take a clear look at how they bring in students, how they maintain the students, as in how they handle their students, and making sure that every individual that gets into the private university graduates meeting their targets. Often than not, students get into these universities, they either drop out, nobody is there to follow up to find out what happened. And feedbacks are very, very important. So I suggest or I advise these private universities to probably come out with a unit or a team called the enrollment units, enrollment management units.
Right.
I think going around, I saw just a few of them having these enrollment management units. If there is a unit, you make sure that at the end of every admission, you check your attrition, you check your graduation rate. When you match and it is not corresponding to the student that you admitted, then you get to know that there is a work that unit need to do to ensure sustainability.
All right, Linda. So what I'm getting from you finally is that leadership in these private institutions is key. How they recruit, we must have a standing team to manage the enrollment process. It's not like we are just admitting students and the matter ends there. So we are looking at and managing the entire enrollment process to ensure that we sustain the students to actually graduate. All right. Thanks so much, Linda, for your time. I'm grateful.
Same here, Nana. Thank you.